Greetings, fair listeners, and thank you for joining me once again as we celebrate stories and storytelling in all their forms and the bards and artists who bring them all to life. I am the Tale Collector and your host, Erica Lynn Adams. All was darkness. All was silence. My family was away for the night. No work awaited me in the morning. Thus, all was also contentment. Not ready for bed just yet, I was wandering through the vast halls of Netflix when I came across an anime that seemed unusual for reasons that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I decided to spare one more half hour and watch the first episode. As cliched as it sounds, the next 24 minutes really did pass like a dream. The sensation stayed with me long after the credits finished rolling. I didn't begin the second episode right then and there. I simply turned off my TV and laid on my couch for what I thought was just a few more minutes, never wanting this feeling to leave me. The ending theme flowed like a starry river through my mind's ears, until my stepfather's heirloom clock chimed midnight and sleep at last beckoned me. And what a beautiful, peaceful sleep it was. I give you Mushishi, first published from 1999 to 2002, and then airing from 2005 to 2006, and recommended for audiences 16 and up. They are known as Mushi. They have existed since time immemorial in a myriad of forms, from plants and animals to weather phenomena to shapes unnameable. They exist on a plane where the corporeal can never tread, more primitive than bacteria, and yet as powerful as gods. Some worship them as bringers of miracles, while others fear them as bringers of madness. Humans who make their living studying them are called Mushishi, or Mushi Masters, one of whom is a lone young man named Ginkgo. With his striking silver hair and single piercing emerald eye, he is as much a mystery as the Mushi he researches. In strict, lifelong devotion to his work, Ginkgo wanders the countryside, aiding those he finds afflicted by the Mushi, and ever teaching them and himself about these otherworldly organisms along the way. The initial concept of Mushishi was inspired by author and manga artist Yuki Arushibara's childhood love of insects and grade school science. This makes sense considering that the Japanese word mushi primarily means insect or bug. The idea was later shaped by her pragmatic approach to belief, or lack thereof, in the supernatural, as she states in Volume 1, quote, "I absolutely do not believe nowadays in ghosts or fairy tale creatures, but I wish they did exist. Mushi were born as a part of that dilemma, and so they take on the form of monsters at times. But only a little while back, monsters lived very close to people. I'm kind of envious of that." Unquote. For his part, upon reading the manga, anime director Hiroshi Nagahama was impressed by its emphasis on how we often miss smaller, seemingly insignificant things the first time around, and how personal and life-changing rediscovering them can be. According to an interview statement from the complete series DVD, quote, "Just by glancing at the cover of the manga, I couldn't tell what this book was about. So that made the shock I got when I read it bigger. It's not something that deals with good or evil, or portrays only happy endings, or focuses only on characters or emphasizes story settings too much. The Mushishi manga is something that's really close to the feeling of meeting and talking with people. Like this, you'll discover new things. So if you read it at different times in your life, you'll be surprised to find things that you missed before. This is a manga that makes you notice many things that you overlooked before." Unquote. To be honest, I don't think the monochrome comic style of manga does Arushibara's story justice. Nagahama uses all the powers of visual media to bring her series to life in every sense of the word. Ginkgo's travels take him through lush green forests, towering mountains covered in autumn leaves and immaculate snow, and picturesque cobalt oceans, all painted in gorgeous watercolors and filled with the natural sounds which stir the heart and calm the spirit. Speaking of sound, composer Toshio Masuda did for Mushishi what Austin Wintory did for that game company's 2012 indie adventure video game, Journey. The show's soundtrack is an exquisite blend of gentle piano, synth and percussion, and mystical chimes, bells, and wind instruments. Each episode has its own end credits theme unique to its own individual story, ranging in tone from hopeful, meditative, and wondrous to disquieting, cryptic, and melancholy. combined with enigmatic vignette titles reminiscent of nature poetry, such as The Pillow Pathway, Those Who Inhale the Dew, Where Sea Meets Man, The Sleeping Mountain, A Sea of Writings, and The Sound of Footsteps on the Grass. These tracks provide a zen-like experience for any listener. This is why this series feels so down-to-earth despite its supernatural elements. Another reason is its anthological format. In each of these vignettes, Ginkgo encounters a new set of characters and a new Mushi to contend with, resolves the issue at hand, then leaves without ever seeing them again. The anime is so faithful to the manga that literally the only difference between the two is the order in which these vignettes occur. To borrow a sentiment from Tolkien, you can wander through any story and never feel truly lost. Such a format is a wonderful way to illustrate how life, not unlike Ginkgo and the Mushi, has no beginning or end. It simply flows, and everything just flows with it. That said, I would personally recommend starting with the very first story, The Green Gathering from the manga, or The Green Seat from the anime. This is where Ginkgo provides an ambiguous yet beautifully profound explanation of the mystery that is the Mushi, representing familiar flora and fauna with parts of the hand and arm, away from the heart, and the Mushi with the heart, the last being so close to the source of all life as to be life itself. But what else is it that makes Mushi so strange, and so dangerous? What separates them from ordinary parasites is their unfathomable abilities. Examples include consuming sound or silence as food, literally bringing a host's dreams into the waking world, dissolving other life forms into water, and living in a host's eyeballs and granting prophetic sight. And then there's Ginkgo himself. As if his pale complexion isn't enough to make him stick out, there's his 20th century attire. Button shirt, slacks, trench coat, etc., in what is supposed to be a fictionalized 19th century Japan. Arushibara had originally wanted to set Mushishi in modern times and designed him accordingly. Even after changing the era, she kept his design, partly as a subtle nod to his more worldly knowledge. In fact, Ginkgo has no choice in his occupation as a Mushi master, as he is a rare individual who attracts Mushi wherever he goes. Hence why he can't stay in one place too long, and why he constantly smokes a special tobacco to repel them. But he is neither a tragic hero nor a semi-divine being. Others, whether they understand it or not, can see Mushi or at least sense them just as well as he. And like any human, Ginkgo can be sarcastic, crack jokes, and get grumpy, but thankfully minus the crossvein, sweat drop, or other over-the-top anime emotion symbols that would clash with the story's solemn aesthetic. Nevertheless, his interest in all things Mushi and his satisfaction in helping affected people are genuine. Equal parts scholar, physician, biologist, and counselor, Ginkgo's teachings regarding the Mushi are freely given with a fatherly patience and dignity. That's not to say all Ginkgo's cases are straightforward or have nice, neat endings. Whether due to his own inexperience or to foolish civilians and arrogant fellow Mushi masters wanting to abuse Mushi's power, adore them with dangerous obsession, or take reckless vengeance on them, things that his principles as both a Mushi master and human being would never allow. There are times when people won't heed his advice, with dire consequences. Still, all Ginkgo can do is move on and try again. While his priority is the humans in his care, it is rarely with pleasure that he will kill Mushi. The one rule that he lives by is no matter how ghostly or frightening or bizarre, they are as much a part of nature as any life form, and as such, are just as deserving of existence. Mushishi may not seem impressive at first glance to the typical hardcore manga and anime fan. There are no epic battles, exaggerated character designs, alien landscapes, or excessive fan service. Here instead is magical realism at its most honest, as much a fictional nature documentary as a supernatural mystery, with a protagonist and side characters each as authentic and relatable as its eponymous creatures are each fascinating and unique. Mushishi is a rare piece of Japanese fiction that quietly invites us to look at the natural world with awe and wonder, and contemplate our woeful ignorance and ever-fragile relationship with it. Best experienced at night, one story at a time, without rushing, just as real life intended. Gather round next time for another tale you may have forgotten or have never heard before. Until then, listeners, may inspiration always find you.